let's get into the meat of this, and we'll talk about. We'll do some tabletop activities here in just a few minutes. So here is where it really gets down to brass tacks. Are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for some hardcore learning here? Y'all ready for this? Bo, you ready for this? All right, good deal. Okay. If we look into the manual on uniform traffic control devices, we're going to talk a lot today about temporary work zones. Has anybody been to the Tim Ballman's work zone training? The advanced, Matt, you've been to it, several of us may have been to it. We talk about temporary work zones, and there are several, and you'll see this. This will be on the quiz this afternoon, the different parts of a work zone. And it's important, not so much the specifics for flagging operations, but we'll talk about it just briefly for a few minutes. It's important because we'll talk about there's an advance warning area, there's a transition area, there's the activity area, termination, and the termination area. The advance warning area is where we're going to put up our signs. Like if you're coming into a flagging operation, your advance warning area is going to be what? What is that going to be? What's that?
1 mile before.
1 mile before. It's going to be the advanced warning area. It may vary. It may vary for our flagging operation. If we look at our sign spacing, it's 500 feet per sign, and we're looking at 3 signs. So you're looking at maybe just 1,500 feet, or maybe 1,500 feet, maybe 1,000 feet, something like, or 2,000 feet, something along those lines. So they could vary a little bit, but it's an advanced warning area. The advanced warning area is where your signs go. Does everybody understand that? Advanced warning area is where your signs go. That's what does that mean? What are we trying to do in the advanced warning area?
Slow traffic down or alarm.
Exactly. It's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, hey, look, hey, we're out here working. We're working right here in this area right here. What we're trying to do is say, hey, we're working down here. We can't do that, right? That's not work. We can't just shout at people, right? That's not going to work. So what we got to do? We got to put signs. Sorry, Jeff, I've got to edit that out. But I'm sure he loves that. But we had to put, sorry, I should have warned him, that we had to put signs down there, right? Because we had to put signs and let them know, because we let them know that there's a work zone coming up ahead. So that gives them alert. That kind of keeps them alert of what's going on. So advanced warning area. Now, there's the transition. What is it? What happens in the transition area? Yeah, it could go 2 lanes to 1 lane. You're basically taking them from something that they know that they've got to something different, right? It could be some kind of taper, it could be something different, but that transition is in this situation right here, and this comes right out of the MUTCD. This is basically a 2-lane roadway. It's going down to 1 lane. For our purposes, we're going from basically 1 lane each direction to basically a 1-lane roadway. So it's similar to this, but we're taking from two lanes, 1 lane each direction down to 1 lane. So it's going to be that transition area right here. It's going to have a taper in it. Then you're going to have the activity area. What all is included in the activity area? You're going to have a buffer. What do we put in the buffer zone? Huh?
Space between you and the stuff.
Yeah. Why don't we want something? Why don't we want a part? What if I got a buffer zone? If my work is here, if this is my work going on here, well, I don't know. It would be good if my guys are out there working. I'd feel much safer if I could bring my truck and park my truck in here. That would protect me and my guys, right? No, why don't I want to do that?
Somebody hits that truck, you're gonna have 2 vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. What is that buffer zone for?
Don't pay attention.
It's exactly that. It's really, what is that? It's for. It's for if that car comes through and they got their head down like this and they've ignored everything. They've ignored our advanced warning area. They've ignored our transition area, and they've plowed through and they've knocked down all of our cones and all this stuff, and they're coming through and all this, and boom, they find themselves in here. They knock down all this stuff and there's nothing in the buffer. Maybe they'll look up and find that they did not hit anything and they have a chance to recover. That's what that buffer area is for, that they don't hit anything but hopefully just barrels and cones, and have a chance not to hit anything before they can wise up and wake up. Does that make sense? So nothing in the buffer area. Is buffer area required in all of our jobs? In some cases. Flagging operations, not always. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later. And termination area. The termination area for flagging operations is a little bit different, because in a flagging operation, your taper, and we'll talk about the taper because it's very different than if you're putting in this situation here. And I'm not going to try to confuse anybody. but I want to be very specific about this. If you're putting in for this type of operation right here, this is called a what? What kind of taper is this? Does anybody know? It's called a merging taper, because what is traffic doing? They're merging into the other lane. So for that kind of taper, and if you look it up in the book, you have to multiply the speed times the distance that they're merging, and that gives you your taper length. And that's a lot different than what we use here in a flagging operation. In a flagging operation, your maximum taper length, because, and it works totally different, the maximum taper length is 50 to 100 feet. You need to remember that. You need to remember that. It's 50 to 100 feet. Doesn't matter, and that's what we're going to use, 50 to 100 feet. And your cone spacing for this is going to be about 20 feet. What we want to do is because we want it to be short, we want the cones to be tight, because what we want to see when traffic comes up and they see our flagging operation, we really want it to look like that those cones are spaced enough, cones, barrels, whatever that we use, we want it to almost look like that lane is closed. And they want it to be spaced like that. So but it's not going to be a very long taper like this. Doesn't matter what the speed is. We want it to be 50 to 100 feet max. So we're not going to have, in this situation, 55 miles an hour like on a roadway that we would normally use, something like that. It's not going to be 600 feet or 660 feet, nothing like that. 50 to 100 feet. That's what we're going to use. Flagging, in the same sense, on the other end, it's going to be 50 to 100 feet on the other end as well. So it's a little different scenario. Whereas on a situation like this, your termination area would be very, very short, like you're on your taper on the other length, because traffic is traveling in the same direction. You can just dog it off pretty short. For a flagging operation, it needs to be 50 to 100 feet on the other end also, because you got traffic traveling a different way. Does that make sense to everybody? So a flagging operation is a lot different than just a lane closure on a 2-lane operation. You'll need to remember that.